Locals in many countries consume foods that we find to be bizarre, but China has one of the largest varieties of food in the world. Walk down any street market in China and you'll find the delicious delicacies, the tourist treats, and even the downright disgusting. Some of these dishes are known for their tastes, some for being unique, and others for their medicinal purposes, and can be made from animals, plants, insects, and just about anything else. The saying must be true: the Chinese eat everything with four legs, except tables and chairs, and everything that flies, except airplanes. Find out the answer by sticking to the end. Here are the most unusual foods that only exist in China. Number 10. Starfish on a stick. For those of you who grew up watching SpongeBob, look away now, as this will probably be the most disturbing thing you'll ever see. In the sea, the humble starfish is not exactly the first thing that springs to mind when you picture a tasty seafood dish. Putting the adorable image of Patrick Star aside for a minute, real-life starfish don't seem as if they'd be all that nice to eat. If you're traveling through the northern parts of China though, expect to see lots of locals tucking into some starfish on a stick. The street food stalls in Wang Fujing's night market in Beijing offer obscured starfish for just $3.75, and if you ever wanted to know what they taste like, well, according to crazy travel foodies, they can range from creamy, salty, bitter, and crunch. Number 9. Tuna eyeballs. Say what you want about the oddities of Chinese cuisine, but you can't deny that they are resourceful when it comes to animal body parts. Almost any leftovers are considered fair game, as evidenced by this appetizing dish of tuna eyeballs, second only to perhaps animal genitals in the contest for weirdest leftover. We can make edible fish eyes seem to be a popular weird dish on the streets of Beijing, and tuna eyeballs in particular are considered a delicacy in both China and Japan. Tuna eyeballs are normally served on a bed of fish fat and severed muscles from around the eye. So for both gross factor and value for money, an adventurous foodie tourists can really get their money's worth if you can stomach it. The actual eyeball is said to resemble squid in both taste and texture. When you consider the fact that most people wouldn't even dare touch squid with a long bowl, this description doesn't do much to lure in tourists. Number 8. Pig brains. Next best thing on the street food menu, and by that I mean the next disgusting, is often animal brains. Chinese street vendors have been known to sell all kinds of animal brains, from goat to rabbit and even monkey, but as far as we know, the brains of pigs appear to be the most popular dish. Oh man, China is weird. Luckily for any extreme foodies out there, and for people fantasizing how it's like to be Hannibal Lecter sampling, pig brains in China leaves you open to a lot of options depending on where you go. In China, pig brains can be served up to you sautéed, fried, or boiled as part of a hot pot stew. The latter serving suggestion seems to be the most popular way to enjoy pig brains. Boiled in a stew of vegetables and other meats, presumably the more normal parts of a pig. Number 7. Drunken shrimp. This next entry is a standout on this list despite how weird most of the food here is. This is the only one that requires the poor creature to still be alive when you're eating them. This bizarre drunken shrimp dish is, as its name suggests, involves the shrimp being doused in alcohol before a curious diner comes along and is encouraged to bite the heads off before eating them alive. Unsurprisingly, this is considered to be one of the coolest snack foods in China. Drunken shrimp is served in both restaurants and by street vendors across the country. But however this is prepared for you, and this is a dish served cold. A bowl is usually filled about halfway with Chinese baijiu liquor. Before a handful of live freshwater shrimp are re-immersed in the alcohol, another bowl is then lays on top, covering the dish. While the shrimp jump about and become more and more sluggish as the alcohol hits them, the dish is usually ready to eat when the shrimp appear drunk enough to eat. Number 6. Rabbit heads. We've all heard that a rabbit's foot is lucky, and maybe that's because it's the only rabbit body part yet to be eaten. In Chinese food markets, all else appears to be fair game as far as food goes, even down to serving up actual rabbit heads as a tasty snack. Believe it or not, these gruesome decapitated snacks are now a rare delicacy in the food markets of China. There was once a time you could find these dotted all over the streets of Beijing food stalls, but today cooked rabbit heads can be found mainly in the southwestern city of Chengdu, where the so-called treats are a specialty because of a cute little bunny's head on a stick. Isn't quite gross enough as it is. Street cooks in Chengdu like to quite literally spice this snack up a little by marinating the heads in a choice of 5 spice powder, or either stewed in chili and Sichuan pepper. You'd assume stewing the rabbit heads in such strong stuff was to disguise the revolting flavor, but it doesn't look like there's much meat to even be eaten here in the first place. The price for one grease-up chili rabbit head about $1.25. Pretty good deal if you ask me, although I feel bad for the poor bunny. Number 5. Grilled bee pupa. I'm really not sure what it is with the Chinese cuisine and insects, but it seems that their motto is if it can fly, it can fry. Because another disgusting food item on our list is deeply fried bees, or to be more specific, bee pupae. Pupae are the stage in between larvae and adulthood in insects, so essentially this dish should be called teenage bees and batter, whether you want to sample deep-fried beef pupae in the form of skewered snacks or in the bowls of the stuffed food. Stalls in the Chinese province of Yunnan is the best place for them. As odd and kind of gross as it might seem, better bee pupae don't taste half as bad as they look, according to tourists who have frequented the insect snack stalls, since they're so heavily fried and battered during the cooking process. The end result is fairly tasteless other than a salty flavor with a crispy texture. In other words, quite similar to popcorn, but don't expect to see these being served in your local cinema soon now. Number 4. Stinky tofu. Most people aren't a fan of regular tofu, and if you're one of those people, it's probably a good idea to skip this entry. Yet another bizarre food favorite in the streets of Beijing is tofu that has been fermented, or stinky tofu as it has been affectionately named by the locals. Quite unexpectedly, stinky tofu is the type of street grub you can usually smell away before you can even see it. So we're all going to straight up assume that the people who like eating this stuff have little to no sense of smell at Dallas. Its name suggests stinky tofu was created using the disgusting process of smoking tofu cubes in a pungent brine mixture of fermented milk. Locals then have the agony of choice on how they'd prefer their stinky tofu eaten: steamed, cold, or the most popular option, had the tofu deep fried. Only the taste of stinky tofu is now here near as strong as its smell though. Number 3. Deep fried tarantulas. Tasty? Seriously? There's no amount of money you could offer me that would even make me consider putting one of these hairy, creepy crawlies anywhere near my mouth. And yet people every day put these things in their mouth and happily crunch away, and this is nothing more than an afternoon snack. On the streets of China, mind you, street vendors across the country are well stocked and deep-fried insects and other nasties. Hangzhou markets in particular are where you can expect to find this your worst nightmare, stunned, fried, and turned into the devil's own lollipop. The Canadian couple Nick and Doris behind the travel blogs Goats on the Road admitted that these hairy beasts were so massive that they were scared to even take a photo with them. You know, tarantulas are simply not right for human consumption when they're still intense to look at dead. There is a saying about Chinese tastes along the lines of we eat anything and everything on 4 legs except the table and chairs. They've clearly since relaxed the rules in how many legs they're willing to eat on. How terrifying the dish can possibly be, either that or they count this thing as 2 servings. Now it's time for today's best pick. Today's best pick is a dish that has the potential of biting you first before you cook it. What mouth-watering dish am I talking about? You'll find out next with number 2. Roasted alligator. Yes. Someone had the broad idea to skin an alligator from the neck down and roast the entire animal whole, and they weren't from Florida. Not entirely appetizing to look at, but looking at the previous entries on this list, this one looks the most palatable. Weird foods such as this can truly be found in only China. Am I right? Well, you might be surprised you can actually find this dish in your neck of the woods. Alligator meat can be readily bought in Louisiana. You don't want to buy one, you can always catch them out in the wild. A whole array of Cajun recipes center around this cold-blooded reptile. One of them is what you see here, roasted whole alligator. These days you can find alligator meat in all shapes and forms. Remember, traveler, that I told you about in the previous list? The one who loves blood cakes. Well, he also swears on this. None of us want this alligator on our dinner table. Who can able to eat is just like breakfast. Before moving to the next number, we just want small favor from you. Our team is working hard and we love to see your reactions on our videos. Please like our video and subscribe to our channel. Press the bell icon to get notification of our upcoming video. Number 1. 1000-year eggs. Century eggs, also known as preserved eggs, 100-year eggs, 1000-year eggs, 1000-year-old eggs, millennium eggs, skin eggs, or black eggs are a Chinese preserved egg product made by processing. They may not really be 1000 years old, but century eggs have a long history. 1000-year eggs take this custom to the extreme. Though they're also known as century eggs, preserved eggs, and millennium eggs, these terms are all misnomers. The eggs are only cured for about 100 days. Those eggs are made from duck eggs, lye or sodium hydroxide, and salt. That sounds scary, but it's probably okay to eat. A problem does arise with some century eggs because the curing process is sometimes accelerated by adding another ingredient to the eggs: lead oxide. Through the process, the yolk becomes a dark green to gray color, with a creamy consistency and strong flavor due to the hydrogen sulfide and ammonia present, while the white becomes a dark brown, translucent jelly with a salty flavor. The transforming agent in the century egg is an alkaline salt, which gradually raises the pH of the egg to around 9 to 12 during the curing process. This chemical process breaks down some of the complex, flavorless proteins and fats, which produces a variety of smaller flavorful compounds. Some eggs have patterns near the surface of the egg white which are likened to pine branches. These patterned eggs are regarded as having better quality than the normal century eggs and are called Songhua eggs, also known as pine flower eggs or pine patterned eggs. This is the end of our video. Just tell us in the comment box. Would you like to eat any of the food given in the list? If yes, then why you want, and if your answer is no, then give a reason. You can also watch some more amazing videos on our channel here.